At the 11th hour, Congress comes together to put together a clean funding bill. Clean. That doesn't involve a debt ceiling increase, but keeps the government open until December of 2022. So we will talk just a bit about what's going on there, what that means, and where we go from there. In other news, Nancy Pelosi calls Joe Manchin a fine, respected friend, and then snaps when reporters asked her about her tax, so we'll talk just a bit about what's going on there. Several groups in Minnesota start suing the government over the vaccine mandate, so we'll talk just a bit about what that means and where we're going with that and all the other fun stuff that goes with that. And Ron Paul, out of nowhere, gets his YouTube channel removed. Well, you saw that one coming too, didn't you? It's going to be all this and more. Hey, do you trust the plan yet? I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, Edheads. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar, and we have got a bunch of stuff to go over here. It's going to be a full stack. Plus, we got 5 from yesterday, too. So we got to keep through it. We got to keep trucking on. We got to keep going here. But before we get started, well, a couple things before we get started. Make sure that you tell your friends. If you see people on your platform lurking that you don't think the number, on the bottom of the screen reflects the number of people who are chatting in the live chat. Remind everybody that today we've got a full page of notebook, which, by the way, you guys were really busy yesterday on Thursday. But we have got a full notebook page of names to read and thank for people who chatted throughout the week. And then we also go through some of the things that you guys said today. We're going to read live chat at the end of the show here and give a great big shout out and a great big thank you to all the people who have been chatting in the live chat here. It's going to be a great time. I love doing this on Friday here. Even if it puts me a little bit behind the 8 ball, even if it leaves me a little bit behind in my morning, I love doing this. I love giving thanks to you guys who have come in and supported me. I have a small group of followers, but I have a loyal group of followers. You guys are here every morning. I see the same names every morning, and I love that. I love being here. The first thing you guys see in the morning here, your morning cup of coffee. I love doing that. That has become the highlight of my day here. So I always love to take some time and give you guys some thanks for doing so. Even the detractors. Yes, we will even say thank you to Glazy, who decided to call us all chuds because he did come in on the Twitch side and watch a commercial. So, and I got paid for that commercial. I looked. So, we will do that at the end of the show, so thank you everybody in advance who came in, lurkers, listeners, and don't lurk today. Get that message in there today so that we can say thank you. So that the people can say thank you, so I can say thank you. We're going to say thank you here. In other news, let's get into the selling of the wares here, starting with the website. Make sure you guys go out over and checkmark and bookmark turnsomepagesproductions.com or TSP-prod, a great place where you will find great shows and great writers. Great shows such as The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Breckenhoff, The R-Rated Conservative, The Porch Boys, and The Freckles and Brit Show, of whom Brit of The Freckles and Brit Show will be joining me on Monday in the stead of Elaine from The Red Ned Show. She'll be sitting down, we'll be talking the news, she'll be promoting her stuff. Hopefully we'll get Rachel and Freckles on here at some point too, because we really want to make sure that they get heard as well. So go and check that out, turnsomepagesproductions.com. And if you'd like to be on the ground floor of what we're doing at Turns of Pages Productions, if you'd like to be on the ground floor, make sure that we get that money paid in and make sure that our wonderfully talented web developer gets paid, you can go and check out the GoFundMe that we have going here, gofundme.com/ev/help launch Turns of Pages. That link will be in the live chat. If you guys go back and check the live chat now or the live chat replay, let me get that up there for you here. That is a link if you guys want to get on the ground floor. Our first 2 donations were anonymous. They won't get mentioned on the website. But if you want to put that donation in, even if it's $1, you will get a special thanks section on the website where we say thank you. Thank you for helping support our dream and helping us to bring news from the common man to the common man. Because that's the dream. All right, let's look in at your finance for the morning here. Let's start off with the Dow Jones. Actually tumbled throughout the day yesterday, in spite of the fact that at the 11th hour they came out and said, okay, we are going to pass this clean funding bill. That clean funding bill didn't have a debt ceiling increase, and I think that's going to be one of the things that's going to be weighing on the markets here as we read into the investors' websites here. The market is down to 33,843.92, which means, I believe this means that we are down to like July levels. Let's actually pan this out to a month. Yeah, because it's October 1st. This was September 1st. We were at 35,000. So we've lost 2,000 points, almost 2,000 points in a month through September. And September is typically a down month anyway, but still, that's quite a bit. That's a lot of people are saying that's halfway to correction. So we will see what happens throughout the rest of the year and where the retail sales go for the holidays, because that is going to be coming up here, including Halloween, in which I have a fun Halloween costume that I'm going to wear on stream on the Friday before Halloween. I'm not going to tell you guys what it is. A couple people do know what it is, but I'm not going to tell you guys what it is. But I'm going to have a lot of fun with it. It's going to be a fun time. I very much enjoy this costume that I have designed. I got to touch on a couple more things before I can put it into action. But I do hope the original likeness that I will be representing knows that this is a Halloween costume, and I'm actually a big fan, not actually me making fun of this guy. So we will see you guys on Halloween for that. That's going to be a great time, but we will see each other numerous times between then and now. Your Bitcoin had a great day yesterday. $47,402 and 40 US cents, as opposed to the 41,000 it was when we looked at this yesterday. So yeah, great day for Bitcoin, and great day for those who held Bitcoin and held on through this year, didn't sell off when they needed to buy groceries or diapers or whatever the hell else it was that they needed to buy. And congratulations on that. We will continue to monitor this. This is what I would still consider to be steady at this point. It's not back up to where it was at the beginning of September, but this is something we will consider to be steady as we go, and watch as it follows. Your metal prices. Your copper is still on the downturn, except for copper tubing, which still continues to rise. Your steel is still on the upturn, in spite of the fact that almost all your plays are still down, except for cast iron. And your aluminum continues to be on the downturn on the average, in spite of the fact, well, not really in spite of the fact, that's kind of mixed here. Siding is up, cans are up, radiators are down, clean aluminum copper fin radiators are down, rims are up, and sheet aluminum is down. So, plus your catalytic converters all went down, batteries are going up. Domestic catalytic converters and GM catalytic converters are split, and small GM catalytic converters are also up. So, your metal is kind of moving here and there, wherever it goes, and we will see where that goes. Let's check in with CNBC. Dow drops 500 points on September's final day. S&P 500 suffers worst month since March of 2020. From Jesse Pound and Pippa Stevens. U.S. stocks pulled back on Thursday as Wall Street wrapped up its worst month of the year on a sour note. The Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped 546.80 points, or 1.59%, to close at 33,843.92. The broader S&P 500 was down 1.19% to 43,0754, while the tech-heavy NASDAQ Composite fell 0.4% to 1448.58. The weakness for the market came on the final day of what has been a rough month for equities, as rising rates, inflation fears, and concerns about the Chinese property market have roiled stocks. The S&P 500 finished September down 4.8% for its worst month since March of 2020, when the government pandemic caused a major market sell-off. The index closed at 5% below its record high for the first time this year. The article doesn't actually say government pandemic. That was a Freudian slip, but it was a very accurate Freudian slip. Let me drop this back just a little bit more. This seems really loud in my ears. The NASDAQ fell 5.3% for its worst month since March of 2020, while the Dow dropped 4.3% for its worst month in 2021. September lived up to its reputation and dented stock portfolio returns, but not too badly, wrote Ed Yardeni of Yardeni Research. There has been a lot of concern that higher wages, higher energy prices, and higher transportation costs will weigh on earnings for the remainder of the year and into 2022. It's certainly something we'll be tracking, but so far, analysts remain relatively sanguine. Concerns about inflation and supply chain issues continue to hamper the markets on Thursday. Shares of Bed Bath & Beyond fell 22.1% after the company said those issues hurt the company's second quarter results, and the news appeared to hit fellow retail stocks. Walgreens Boot Alliance and Home Depot fell 3.4% and nearly 2.6% respectively, making them two of the worst performers in the Dow. Energy and financials, which have been some of the best performers in recent weeks, took a step back on Thursday. Shares of Goldman Sachs were 1.7% lower, while JP Morgan was down 1.3%. Tech stocks outperformed on Thursday, but NASDAQ still suffered its fifth straight losing session. Tech names have been hit by the recent jump in the 10-year Treasury yield, which broke above 1.567% earlier this week. The measure retreated slightly on Thursday. Rising yields, fueled by concerns over inflation and the Federal Reserve signals that it will soon begin winding down its pandemic-era asset purchases, are seen as negative for tech stocks because they make far-off future profits look less attractive to investors. We've been talking about spooky season, September and October, and the expectation of a 5% dip from the high, but we've said we don't expect a correction, said David Bianco of the DWS Group. A correction is typically defined as a pullback for more than 10% from a recent high. We expect yields to climb, and that's why we're overweight banks, but we don't expect yields to surge, and without a surge in yields, we can live with these valuations, Bianco said. Shares of Apple and Amazon finished the day in negative territory after moving higher in the morning trading. Chip giant Nvidia and Netflix managed to hold on to their gains, but closed well off session highs. We wouldn't get caught up in any of the end-of-quarter machinations today and continue to advise fading rallies, especially in tech, in the coming weeks. Will stay rocky, wrote Adam Crisafulli of Vital Knowledge. September's losses led to a weak third quarter for the market. For the 3-month period, Dow dropped 1.9%, while the Nasdaq Composite shed 0.4%. The S&P 500 held on to a modest gain and is still up nearly 15% on the year. So a lot of stuff sitting here, a lot of stuff moving on here, and interestingly enough, the one thing that CNBC doesn't mention is the government involvement. Surprise, surprise. But keep in mind, while the government is staying open right now, while all those federal workers, they're not going to get furloughed, while everything is going to stay hunky-dory on that, one of the things to watch with that is the fact that there are investors that are looking at the fact that there may be a default. And I'm pretty positive that's the reason that we watched everything go up yesterday instead of coming down for a 17th straight day. Is because there were thoughts in the investor community that this new bill, that they weren't going to let the government shut down, and this new bill was going to have the debt ceiling suspension or increase. And that didn't happen. That's still floating out there in the ether, and we'll talk about that when we talk about the government funding bill, but that's going to start weighing on people. And I look at this, and I watch this, and I watch where this goes, and one of the things that I'm actually paying attention to, and I've talked about this before, we'll talk about this a bit more, is whether or not the Turtle Man is trying to force Pelosi's hand and get her to use the budget reconciliation on the debt ceiling suspension, and not the budget reconciliation bill, which would, with the way the progressives are talking right now, also kill the bipartisan infrastructure bill. And probably save the economy, I'm not going to lie. But that's what we'll see here, that's where we're going to go, that's what we're going to watch. Let's grab one briefly from Yahoo News, and then we will move on into the big news of the day. Looking across the charts, the futures on the S&P actually increased a little bit. The Dow increased a little bit as well. The Nasdaq increased. All the major indices increased, but crude oil and gold are both on the downswing. From investing.com, via Yahoo, Dow futures fall 115 points. Core PCE data in focus. This is an overnight situation, so this has changed overnight according to the charts we see on the top here. From Peter Nurse, U.S. stocks are seen opening lower Friday, starting the new month, as the last one ended with investors fretting about high inflation and the potential early withdrawal of monetary stimulus. At 7 a.m. Eastern Time, Eastern Time, the Dow futures contracts was down 115 points, or 0.4%. S&P 500 futures traded 14 points, or 0.3% lower, while Nasdaq futures dropped 30 points, or 0.2%. The major indices ended September sharply lower, with broad-based S&P 500 finishing the month down 4.8%, its worst month since May of 2020. The blue-chip Dow Jones Industrial Average and the tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite fell 4.3% and 5.3% respectively, their worst months of the year. Investors have been worried about a variety of factors, including the fresh burst of COVID cases, Chinese regulatory headwinds, supply chain bottlenecks, and fading fiscal stimulus. But among the concerns has been persistently the high inflation and the likely impact this has on the timetable for the Federal Reserve's tapering of its massive bond buying program. With that in focus, Friday will be on the release of the Core Personal Consumption Expenditure Price Index, the Federal Reserve's favorite gauge of inflation, at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Minnesota Fed President Neil Kashkari, perhaps the biggest inflation dove among the Fed's policymakers, said on Thursday he was comfortable with the idea of an imminent start to tapering. PCE prices are expected to rise 0.2% in August and 3.6% year over year, unchanged on an annual basis from July, which was the highest level since May of 1991. Earlier Friday, Eurozone inflation hit a 13-year high in September, with CPI climbing to 3.4% year-on-year from 3% a month earlier, predominantly on a surge in energy costs. Yeah, there's, I guess, been some talk about the energy sector in Britain having problems too with the surge and everything else, and not having enough stockpiles to heat over what's anticipated to be a very cold winter. And I know my friend Seawall said that last night, that it's going to be a very cold winter. And I also looked into this, and appears that the Farmer's Almanac is also predicting a very, very cold winter, while prices are increasing on everything. So do pay attention to that as well. I mean, I remember last year when we got snow in October, like mountains of snow in October. What do we get, like 18 inches of snow in Wisconsin in October? And then by the middle of November, it was all melted away, and we didn't see another flake of snow until January 27th. At which point it snowed into April. But it's looking like we'll see a lot of bitter cold this year, and maybe not a lot of precipitation. So we will see where that goes and what happens with that. But yeah, I mean, especially given the fact that all your heating oils are up right now. I mean, I'm even seeing it just on the energy side of it. Seeing the increases in prices per kilowatt hour. And I haven't had a heater on, and I have electric stove, so I haven't had a heater on since, well, April. So I'm not looking forward to seeing what happens with the energy prices now that heating oils are going to be up. But we will see what happens in the coming months, because we're getting to that time. I still have windows open right now, but we are getting to that time. All right, let's get into the news of the day, starting with the Associated Press. Oh, Ron had his sticker removed. Sorry, Ron. From the Associated Press, Biden signs bill to avert partial government shutdown. From Kevin Frecking. With only hours to spare, President Biden on Thursday evening signed legislation to avoid a partial federal shutdown and keep the government funded through December 3rd. Congress had passed the bill earlier on Thursday. The back-to-back votes by the Senate and then the House averted one crisis, but delays on another one continue as the political parties dig in on a dispute over how to raise the government's borrowing cap before the U.S. risks a potentially catastrophic default. Have you ever considered not spending money like I do when I'm on the verge of a default? The House approved the short-term funding measure by a 254 to 175 vote not long after Senate passage and a 65 to 35 vote. A large majority of Republicans in both chambers voted against it. The legislation was needed to keep the government running once the current budget year ended at midnight on Thursday. Passage will buy lawmakers more time to craft the spending measures that will fund federal agencies and the programs they administer. Except they're not going to do that. They're going to move on to what the arbitrary date was, which I don't know if it says that in the article, but they're going to continue to move on down the road to the arbitrary date that they set, in which they say the government's going to run out of money. And then they're going to do another one of these at the very last minute, where whoever the president is at the time, Harris, will come in and sign the bill at 11 o'clock on the night before the midnight deadline. And then the Associated Press will come up and make another praising article about it. There's so much more to do, Biden sent a statement after the signing. But the passage of this bill reminds us that bipartisan work is possible and gives us time to pass longer-term funding and keep our government running and delivering for the American people. The work to keep the government open and running served as a backdrop during a chaotic day for Democrats as they struggled to get Biden's top domestic priorities over the finish line, including a bipartisan trillion-dollar infrastructure bill at risk of stalling in the House. It's a glimmer of hope that we go through many, many other activities, said Senate Majority Leader Chuck U. Schumer. With their energy focused on Biden's agenda, Democrats backed down from a showdown over the debt limit in the government funding bill, deciding to uncouple the borrowing ceiling at the insistence of Republicans. If that cap is not raised by October 18th, the U.S. will probably face a financial crisis and economic recession, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said. Republicans say Democrats have the votes to raise the debt limit on their own, and Leader McConnell of Kentucky is insisting they do so. And that's just it. The short-term spending legislation also provides about $28.6 billion in disaster relief for those recovering from Hurricane Ida and other natural disasters. Some $10 billion of that money will help farmers cover crop losses from drought, wildfires, and hurricanes. An additional $6.3 billion will help support the resettlement of Afghan evacuees from the 20-year war between the U.S. and the Taliban. No word on getting the people that are actually U.S. citizens out of Afghanistan, but we will help the evacuees. It's a good outcome. It's a good outcome and one I'm happy that we're getting done, Schumer said. With so many things to take care of in Washington, the last thing the American people need is for the government to grind to a halt. Once the government is funded, albeit temporarily, Democrats will turn their full attention to the need to raise the limit on the federal borrowing, which now stands at $28.4 trillion. With a T, trillion dollars. Excuse me. The U.S. has never defaulted on its debt in the modern era, and historically, both parties have voted to raise the debt limit. Democrats joined the Republican Senate majority in doing so 3 times during Trump's presidency, which they shouldn't have. This time, Democrats wanted to take care of both priorities in one bill, but Senate Republicans blocked that effort on Monday. Raising or suspending the debt limit allows the federal government to pay obligations already incurred. It does not authorize new spending. McConnell has argued that Democrats should pass a debt limit extension with the same budgetary tools they're using to try to pass the $3.5 trillion effort to expand social safety net programs and tackle climate change. He reiterated that warning as the Senate opened on Thursday, even as Democrats have labeled that option a non-starter. Of course it is. They would rather default on the debt and take it out on you than go without getting that big, massive $3.5 trillion plan that's fucking dead in the water because of Manchin. Think about that for a second. And, I mean, this is an accidental moment of truth from the Dissociated Press. I'm sure if they knew what they were printing right there in that portion of this, they would not have printed that line. Think about that for a second. Think about what that means. Because the Democrats in the Congress and in the Senate are telling you on either side that they need to be able to do this, but it's a non-starter. And they're telling you on either side that if this goes through, if they default on the debt, which I don't think is going to happen, but if they default on the debt, then oh my God, it's going to mean investments are going to go everywhere. It's going to kill tens of thousands of jobs. It's going to do this. But we've got the budget reconciliation to do that, but we won't do it. They would punish the American people to get their agenda passed. Do you see it yet? Do you see it yet? Do you see what it is they're doing? It's a non-starter to take that budget reconciliation away. We have to get Republicans on board. That's what they're telling you. And if they won't do it, then you, the little person, suffer. The Republicans don't suffer. Well, they do, because they'll get the wall-to-wall negative press coverage. But they'll still get their money from their big wealthy fucking donors, because they're neocon fucking war shills. They're not going to suffer from this. Their families will go with plenty of food, and they've got plenty of reserves, and some of them probably have bunkers that they'll probably just go hunker in and wait this whole thing out. It's going to hit you. You are going to be the one that suffers, not them. And the mainstream media is going to make wall-to-wall coverage to tell you that it was the evil Mitch McConnell that did it. Biden's not going to take a hit for this. Pelosi's not going to take a hit for this. Chuck U. Schumer's not going to take a hit for this. They're going to throw that all on the shoulders of Mitch McConnell. And we'll talk about that in just a second when I think it's the next article. Yes, the way that the media is trying to run this. The arguments made, House Democrats pushed through a standalone bill late Wednesday that would suspend the debt limit until December of 2022. Schumer said that he would bring the measure to the Senate floor, but the bill is almost certain to be blocked by a Republican filibuster. The argument made in both chambers about the debt ceiling have followed similar themes. You're more interested in punishing Democrats than preserving our credit, and that is something that I'm having a real tough time getting my head around, House Rules Committee Chairman Jim McGovern of Mass told Republicans. The idea of not paying bills just because we don't like Biden's policies is the wrong way to go. You've got the tools. That's the thing. You've got the tools to do it. So use them. You've got a budget reconciliation left. You blew your wad on the stimulus package. You've got one less. Use it. Unless, of course, you want the government to default and to take this out on the American people. That's what you need to start reminding these people of, is the fact that they're taking this out on the American people. Undaunted, Republicans argued Democrats have chosen to ram through their political priorities on their own, and thus are responsible for raising the debt limit on their own. So far as the Democrat majority continues to insist on spending money hand over fist, Republicans will refuse to help them lift the debt ceiling, Representative Tom Cole of Oklahoma said. So, a lot of stuff moving here, a lot of stuff going on, but yes, the government stays open. And of course, because we need to have the wall-to-wall propaganda of this, to read from Newsweek, these 35 senators voted against the stopgap funding to avoid the government shutdown. From Fatma Khalid. So they're going to run out in docs, and I don't think I'm going to read the names. I'm going to see if there's anything, anybody notable on this, but yeah, they just ran out and ran this article to docs. The Senate on Thursday approved a stopgap government funding bill that will avoid federal agencies from shutting down through early December. The spending measure, called Continuing Resolution, passed the Senate in a vote of 65 to 35, more than achieving 60 votes required for approval. The bill is meant to make ongoing appropriations for the fiscal year ending on September 30th, 2022, and provide emergency aid, among the other purposes. Yeah, I mean, the usual names in here: Ted Cruz, Ernst, Grassley, a few other ones, Cotton. So, you'd expect some of these names. Marsha Blackburn tweets out, "Our government is running out of money because Joe Biden has been busy spending it all." No, that's not entirely accurate either, Marsha Blackburn. You're close, but that's not entirely accurate either, because a lot of the reason we're running out of money right now, so they say, is because of the insane relief bills that got pushed through in lieu of opening up the economy. That's why the government's running out of money, and you, Marsha Blackburn, are also responsible for that. It's not just them. It's you have a hand in that too. So that's what we see come off of that. From CNN, Pelosi delays vote on trillion-dollar infrastructure bill after hours of negotiations. From Alex Rogers, Melanie Zanona, and Daniela Diaz. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi ruled against putting a trillion-dollar infrastructure bill on the floor Thursday night, according to leadership aide, after progressives rebelled, potentially delaying consideration until Democrats strike an agreement on separate, much larger social safety net and climate legislation. Pelosi's decision came after hours of intense negotiations, including a call with President Biden and a crush of meetings and calls with members of the House Democratic Caucus. The delay puts the Speaker past her second self-imposed deadline to hold the vote on the plan after postponing the vote that had originally slated been for Monday. Negotiations were expected to resume on Friday, with White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, red-haired bobblehead, alluded to in a statement late Thursday thanking Pelosi and Chuck U. Schumer for their efforts. A great deal of progress has been made this week, and we're closer to an agreement than ever. Can I circle back to you? Psaki wrote. But we're not there yet, so we will need some additional time to finish the work starting tomorrow, first thing, and we'll circle back to this again. Liberal Democrats were confident this week that they had the numbers to block the bill, which would spend hundreds of billions of dollars upgrading roads, bridges, transit, rail, broadband, airports, ports, and waterways. They hoped their hardball tactics would push moderates to support their top priority, a $3.5 trillion pork package. That legislation would expand the child tax credit and Medicare's ability to cover vision, hearing, and dental care, fund community college, and universal pre-K initiatives, combat climate change, and fund elder care and paid leave programs. The $3.5 trillion bill would be paid for, at least in part, by tax increases, primarily on corporations and the wealthy, which means a tax on you. Just so you know. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders told CNN that infrastructure deal should be defeated and railed against Pelosi's late-night deal-making effort.
It's an absurd way to do business, to be negotiating for a multi-trillion-dollar bill a few minutes before a major vote with virtually nobody knowing what's going on here,
Sanders said.
That's unacceptable, and I think that has got to happen, and is that tonight. A bipartisan infrastructure bill must be defeated, and we can sit down and work out a way to pass both pieces of legislation, and then I will go home to my fourth home, and I will have a pudding cup.
Pelosi's effort to pass the infrastructure bill is complicated by West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin, who said Thursday he would support a much smaller $1.5 trillion bill expanding the social safety net, and Arizona Senator Kyrsten Sinema. The two moderate Senate Democrats met for about 45 minutes on Thursday evening as they tried to find a way forward on both the infrastructure and Build Back Better plans. With a split Senate and a slim hold on the House, Democrats are leveraging their power to make sure their colleagues support their bills, which compromise Biden's domestic agenda. Progressives say they will hold their support on the bipartisan infrastructure package until moderates strike a deal with them on the Build Back Better Act. Washington State Rep. Pramila Jayapal, the Congressional Progressive Caucus chairwoman, told CNN that she was not worried that her liberal colleagues would break ranks. "I've never seen our caucus so strong," said Jayapal, "and I'm very good vote. Counter, also maybe not quite as good as Nancy Pelosi sometimes, but I'm excellent." But at least a dozen House Republicans are expected to vote for the Roads and Bridges bill, allowing Pelosi to lose some members on her left flank. One source told CNN that Pelosi had success Thursday flipping some Democrats to the yes column. "The number of no votes is coming down," the source said. New Jersey Rep. Josh Gottheimer, co-chair of the Bipartisan Problem Solvers Caucus, touted that he and Pelosi were both whipping Democrats on the floor. "She's doing it," he said earlier. "That's the Pelosi magic. Jesus Christ. Simp!" Following the announcement that the vote had been postponed, Gottheimer tweeted, "It ain't over yet." Well, it might be over. It might be. But yes, they're still focusing on this, and the $1.2 trillion bill is pushed along. Because they got to get this other one over this finish line, otherwise they're dead in the water every fucking which way they can turn. From the Hill. Manchin says reconciliation bill must include the controversial Hyde amendment. From Carolyn Vakil. Joe Manchin said late Wednesday that an expansion of Medicaid that Democrats are seeking to pass as part of their massive reconciliation bill must include the Hyde amendment to get his support. "Yeah, we're not taking the Hyde amendment off. Hyde's going to be there," Manchin told National Review when he was when asked about a proposed Medicaid-like program for the reconciliation bill. What the hell is this? The advertisement on the side, which I don't know why I'm seeing an advertisement. I have ad blocker on, and the Hill complained about the fact that I had ad blocker on. "Life Exact. A look inside 31-year-old Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's home." Don't care. Under the Hyde Amendment, Medicaid and other federal programs are prohibited from covering abortion expenses. Government spending bills have included the stipulation since 1976. In spite of the fact that government funding still gets used for abortions, but it's a shell game. Some Democrats are pushing to include a Medicaid-like program in the reconciliation package in which the federal government would step in and provide coverage in the 12 GOP-led states that have so far declined to expand Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act. The Democrats' proposal does not include language reflecting the Hyde Amendment. Democrats are trying to move a massive spending package that could include Medicaid language through a process known as budget reconciliation, which prevents it from being filibustered. That means they could move the package through the Senate with no GOP votes, but they cannot afford a single Democrat defection. Bills have been routinely passed with Hyde Amendment language for years, but doing so has grown much more controversial among Democrats, with the new debate would come as many Democrats worry over access to abortion rights given state laws limiting the practice. Review of Texas, President Biden has backed the Hyde Amendment. Review of Texas, Manchin's a critical vote. On Wednesday, Manchin did say he could support the passage of a reconciliation package with Democratic priorities before the end of 2021, which just leaves cinema. And the hope and prayer for Democrats that they don't have to use the reconciliation to raise the debt ceiling. By the way, that could possibly be coming too. So we will watch where that's going. We will see what's happening with that. Let's grab one from the Blaze with a little bit of video here as well. Liberal outrage erupts at Nancy Pelosi for saying she has enormous respect for Senator Joe Manchin as he stalls Democrat agenda. From Carlos Garcia. House Speaker Pelosi had some nice words for her Democratic colleague, Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia, but many on social media were outraged by what she said. Democrats are negotiating with Manchin and Sinema, who are objecting to a massive infrastructure bill and keeping President Biden from legislative victory. It's not an infrastructure bill, it's a Democratic fucking pork package. Pelosi was asked by reporters about the talks with Manchin during her media briefing on Thursday. Look, I think that Joe Manchin is a great member of the Senate, said Pelosi. We'll watch that video in a second. Some liberals on Twitter media were outraged that Pelosi could compliment Manchin while he stalled the infrastructure bill. Nancy, Manchin is a self-serving ass, responded one critic. Even though he's let you and the party, that's capital T, capital P, and our country down time and time again, please, I don't understand, said another detractor. He's an embarrassment. He publicly pushed policies that benefit his family, so greedy, he's trying to stick to his rebel brand and screw over his Democratic team, read one tweet. Sound like she's been tricked then and been thinking the Republican is really a Democrat, said one critic. Well, let's watch the video. Let's see what actually was said here.
Was he saying something privately then to you or to the president that gives you more hope that that can move forward?
You would think I'm going to talk to you about my conversations with Joe Manchin in here, if you promise not to tell anyone. Look, I think that Joe Manchin is a great member of the Senate. We're friends. We're Italian Americans. We get along. Catholic. We have shared values. I have enormous respect for him. I had one of the joys of my service in Congress was to work with him to make sure we had the health benefits and pension benefits for our mine workers. Not that I think clean coal is anything but, well, nonetheless about that. But I do believe in the workers, their needs.
Listen to that flip-flop. Holy shit, listen, did you hear that? Look, I think that Joe Manchin is a fine fellow. He's a great fellow, but and he worked with me to make sure that we had benefits for our miners, even though I hate coal. Listen to that flip-flop on a fucking dime. Did you hear that shit? Let's listen to that again.
Mine workers. Not that I think clean coal is anything but...
we got to back up a little further than that.
One of the joys of my service in Congress was to work with him to make sure we had the health benefits and pension benefits for our mine workers. Not that I think clean coal is anything but...
Listen to that turn on a heel. Holy shit. As old as she is, as brittle as those bones are, that she would break an ankle doing that.
Enormous respect for him. I had one of the joys of my service in Congress was to work with him to make sure we had the health benefits and pension benefits for our mine workers. Not that I think clean coal is anything but, well, nonetheless about that.
Listen to that. Holy shit. Wow. Wow. And there's the next question. Is Nancy doing the art of the deal here? Look, okay, I think that she
She is a great person, and I look forward to going and working with him. He's Winnie the Pooh, but he's nice and cuddly, Winnie the Pooh, okay? And Kim Jong-un, okay, he says some tweets, he makes some tweets there, but he's a fine gentleman, okay? We're going to do whatever we can for Kim Jong-un. We're going to go and meet with him. It's going to be great, okay? Fine gentlemen. Please don't point rockets at us, okay?
Is that what she's doing here? Art of the Deal? Because I thought that whole book was evil.
Oh, it's ghostwritten, so Trump doesn't even know what's in it.
But what a turn on a heel. Holy shit. In other news, more Nancy Pelosi news, Nancy Pelosi snaps at reporter questioning tact with modern Dems. From Amanda Prestigiacomo. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi on Wednesday evening snapped at a reporter questioning her tact with moderate Democrats holding up progressive trillion-dollar spending packages. It looks like... Oh, that's the question. We'll wait for the video on this one. You know, let's just do the video. Fuck it. Instead of reading some of the transcript. Tom Elliott tweets out, Pelosi snaps at reporter questioning her strategy on the debt ceiling. What are you talking about? And that ends the Instagram video for the day. So we will get that posted at the end of the show. Let's listen to Nancy Pelosi.
We'll be sharing our views on it.
How much closer are they to an agreement with the Senate right now? After did the president indicate how his talks have gone?
Talk to him about that.
It looks like the debt limit extension might not advance in the Senate. Why get mad at members? Why twist the arms of moderates if this is not going to move anywhere?
What are you talking about? We have a responsibility to uphold, to lift up the full faith and credit of the United States of America. That's what we have to do. These members have all voted for this last week. So if they're concerned about how it might be in an ad, it's already in an ad. It's already in an ad. So let us give every confidence every step of the way that we will do that. We cannot predicate our actions in the House on what could happen in the Senate. We can when we're coming to agreement on a bill. But in terms of this...
She mad.
After did the president indicate how his talks have gone?
Talk to him about that.
It looks like the debt limit extension might not advance in the Senate. Why get mad at members? Why twist the arms of moderates if this is not going to move anywhere?
What are you talking about? We have a responsibility to uphold...
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Which, I mean, Nancy Pelosi doesn't have a lot to say about what goes on in the Senate anyway. That's for Charles U. Schumer to come back and figure out how he's going to get his members in order and in line. You know, you still love to watch the snapback of this. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Go talk to somebody else on this, huh? So they're getting under her skin, and that's kind of funny to watch. From Politico, more video. Jayapal, no vote for infrastructure bill until reconciliation is passed, which is the other struggle that they're having. Let's listen to this.
We have said clearly, and we reiterated this again to the Speaker, and we're in the same place, that we will not be able to vote for the infrastructure bill.
Oh, that's fucking lame. Some of these embedded videos, they just take fucking forever to load. That's lame. We'll figure that out later. But yes, that's the other side of this, and that's the real struggle that Pelosi's going over right now, is the fact that the members of the Progressive Caucus, like Jayapal, like AOC Biscuit, like Ilhan, like Rashida, and all the people that they whipped into a frenzy over this, they won't touch the infrastructure bill unless they get this big one that they have here. And again, if this means that reconciliation has to go to the debt ceiling, which I don't want to see the debt ceiling raised, but I'm crossing my fingers because the debt ceiling raised is moderate enough. Once again, this actually might be a situation that saves the Biden presidency if the debt ceiling gets raised. Which I'm not interested in saving the Biden presidency, but I am interested in better outcomes for the American people. I'm not all about let's do this because of politics. I am all about let's make sure that the American people have food on their fucking table. The raising of the debt ceiling maybe. But realistically, if it blocks them from spending this $3.5 trillion and also blocks them from the $1.2 trillion, and every other bill that has to come in for spending has to go through a filibuster from this point on, may keep us in fighting shape until 2022. It'll be great campaign ads for Democrats coming up in 2022, I will admit to that, but it may keep us, the American people, going until 2023 and beyond, without the inflation being shot out the ass into a mountain of problems. So that's what we see going on with that. Let's grab one here. This is Biden's claim off of this from President Biden. Here's the deal, man, from the POTUS account. Unlike my predecessor's tax plan, every penny of my Build Back Better agenda is paid for. Come on, man. This Trump tax cuts for the ultra-wealthy increased the national debt $1.9 trillion. That is false. That had a lot more to do with blowing out the fucking spending in the last year of his presidency on small little potatoes relief bills that ultimately didn't do anything, and people were still getting evicted left and right. President Biden's Build Back Better agenda increased the national debt $0. How do you know that? Do you have a crystal ball? Do you practice Santeria? Do you know what's going to happen here? Because I'm looking at this and the runaway spending that's on this and the fact that, yes, you are going to kill jobs by doing this, and I'm seeing an increase in the national debt that will push us up over the 30 trillion mark and beyond. And furthermore, and I've quote tweeted this already and said, if you're so concerned about, let me rephrase that because that's not how I put that. I said, if this is actually going to cost $0 to the national debt, why are you so worried right now about a suspension to the debt ceiling? Not a raise. Oh, well, we need to go up maybe $500 billion to meet our demands and pay our bills. No, you want an open suspension, an open way to go back and run through this and go and run with the spending as much as you want, with no caps and no limits. I would actually be a little bit respectful of it if you came out and proposed $500 billion. I wouldn't like it, but I would be respectful for it. But you just want it gone again. So no, you can't sit there and tell me that this is going to increase the national debt $0 without having it in practice, and while sitting here also screaming about the fact that you need to have an unlimited debt ceiling, with bankers coming out and telling us the same thing. Fuck you. Alright. From CNBC, Yellen led support for the effort to remove the debt ceiling altogether. Of course she does. From Jeff Cox. With a potential default looming for the U.S. in October, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said Thursday that she would just as soon see the power over debt limits taken away from Congress. A bill introduced in May would repeal the national debt ceiling, and Yellen said, "Yes, I would," when asked during a House hearing if she backs the effort. She noted Congress makes the decisions on taxes and spending, and should provide the ability to pay for those obligations. If to finance those spending and tax decisions, it's necessary to issue additional debt, I believe it's very disruptive to put the president and myself, the Treasury Secretary, in a situation where we might be unable to pay the bills that result from those past decisions, she said in response to the question from Representative Sean Casten of Illinois. The remarks were made during a hearing before the House Financial Services Committee on the Treasury and the Federal Reserve's economic response to the COVID pandemic. Casten said he was asking Yellen about the concept of removing the debt ceiling and not the particular bill introduced by Bill Foster, also an Illinois Democrat, along with a trio of Democratic senators. Yellen this week warned that extraordinary measures her department is using to keep funding in the government's operations expire on October 18th. Earlier in the year, she said the consequences would be dire if Congress fails to raise the spending limit. I think it would be catastrophic for the economy and individual families, she said. The U.S. is currently $28.4 trillion in debt, nearly $700 billion of which has been incurred since Joe Biden took office, and chose Yellen to head the Treasury. The budget deficit through the first 10 months of the fiscal year stood at about $2.71 trillion. Why do you keep spending? The first 10 months of the Biden presidency, 9 months by the way, because he took power at the end of January, and we're just in the first month of October, and this interview took place yesterday. 9 months, thank you very much. $2.71 trillion shortfall. You spent $2.71 trillion more dollars than you had. In the first 10 months. And you don't think that's a problem? The thing that's warmed my heart the most about doing this, about seeing all this bullshit, is the fact that I see a lot more people, and a lot more normie people looking at this and saying, good, default on your fucking debt. We don't care. We don't want to give you any more money. Now, meanwhile, progressives are out there saying, tax cheat, tax cheat, tax cheat, and they actually believe that monitoring any bank account with over $600 means going after the super fucking rich, but yeah, they want to increase the debt ceiling once again, and the Treasury Secretary is backing it. From the Denver Post, a little bit more Federal Reserve news for you. Actually, I'm going to switch that here. I want to do that one next. I want to do this one first. Because this is the propaganda they're going to try to feed you. And unfortunately, this propaganda is actually true. Because they put themselves in a position to where they can always use this propaganda. And it will actually happen, by the way. Nearly 50 million seniors could face Social Security payment delays if debt ceiling isn't raised, from Tammy Luby. So they're going to hold the seniors hostage. These people have no qualms. These are evil, wicked people. They have no qualms. Oh, well, your children are going to suffer. Your grandma's going to suffer if you don't do what we say. They're almost holding these vulnerable demographics at gunpoint. Nearly 50 million senior citizens could face delays in their Social Security payments if Congress does not suspend or raise the debt ceiling in the coming weeks. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen told lawmakers on Thursday. It would be catastrophic for the economy and for individual families, Yellen said at a House Financial Services Committee hearing. Nearly 50 million seniors could stop receiving Social Security payments or receive them delayed, Yellen said, echoing what she wrote in a Wall Street Journal op-ed earlier this month. Our troops would not know when they would get their next paycheck. We have 30 million families who rely on monthly child tax credits, and they would not receive that relief, at least not on time. Really, because up until this year, they waited until the end of the year to get it. So you can't pull that bullshit on me, even though it's bullshit. Unless Congress addresses the debt limit by October 18th, the federal government will no longer be able to borrow to pay for its operations, forcing it to limit the spending. Although the House has twice passed measures to do so, the effort is expected to fail again in the Senate, where Republicans are united in their opposition to the bill. Just what would it mean for Americans remains uncertain since Congress has always stepped in to raise, extend, or revise the definition of the debt limit in the past. The Treasury Department could still pay some of its bills, since it would still have tax revenue coming in, but it's not known what it would decide to pay and when, experts said. Social Security beneficiaries would be at risk for not receiving their payments for the first time since the program was created in 1935. And Max Richtman, CEO of the National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare, they are scheduled to receive $90 billion in payments in October. Some 40% of the beneficiaries depend on the monthly checks for at least 90% of their income, and 2/3 of the recipients depend on the infusions for at least half their income, he said. Not having a check for a few weeks or a month is devastating, Rickman said. Beneficiaries are going to have to decide. Do I pay my rent? Do I buy food? Do I buy medicine? Also, millions of parents who are set to receive 3 more monthly installments of the enhanced child tax credit this year may also have to wait for the funds if there is a default. The Internal Revenue Service is scheduled to send approximately $15 billion in payments on the 15th of each month. So many families are depending on the money to buy food and necessary items for their children. Parents receive up to $300 for each child up to age 6 and up to $250 for each one ages 6 to 17. Meanwhile, more than 42.3 million Americans who receive food stamps could be left waiting for their monthly benefits, an average of $227 per person, which that should be on a state thing, not on a federal thing. The default and extended impasse could also have major implications for the national economy, with federal spending cuts potentially triggering a downturn comparable to the Great Recession. According to Moody's Analytics, nearly 6 million jobs could be lost, stock prices could drop by 1/3, and about $15 trillion in household wealth could evaporate. Yeah, I understand that. I understand all that, but you cannot hold the American people hostage just so you can go back and spend more money on stupid fucking infrastructure crap. And this is the thing. I would honestly be a little bit more okay with people coming together to raise the debt ceiling, given all the money that got spent last year, just to make sure the bills got paid. So, because this is going to be devastating on the American people. This is actually going to be devastating the private sector. There are actually things that are going to devastate the private sector on this. And I would be okay with this, with them going off and doing this, if it wasn't for the fact that at the same time, they were trying to push $5 trillion with a T in new spending at the same time. If they got rid of this infrastructure thing entirely and just said, okay, we're going to cut the spending, give us the debt ceiling so we can make sure we still pay our bills, but we got to cut the spending down, I would say, okay, I don't like it, but you got to do what you got to do. Now, let's work on cutting the spending. But they're not doing that. That's the problem. They're working on raising your taxes and inflation. They're working on raising your taxes in general. They're working on raising the prices on what you pay for everything. And meanwhile, wanting to go back off and spend $5 trillion more. So no, you get no sympathy from me for this. I mean, it'd be the same if, say you're in dire straits, like you lost your job, you're in a pinch. Your buddy says, okay, well, I got $1,000 that I can lend you, and it'll get you by for a little while. And the job market still sucks, and you're still in a pinch, and your buddy says, okay, well, I know you need a little bit more. And you go back to him and says, can you raise the debt ceiling? I'm going to cut my spending entirely. I'm going to get rid of a bunch of stuff. Your buddy would be more interested in giving you the $300 to help you survive than if you went in and said, oh, yeah, if you give me these $300, that's going to be cool. Plus, I found this $3,000 car that I can drive around in. Your buddy would be less likely to go off and loan you the money. I'm less willing to go back and let them go borrow the money because they want to go back and spend $5 trillion in the same fucking breath. So no, you can go and fuck yourself. Get rid of that big, massive monstrosity of a bill and we'll talk. I don't like it, but we'll talk. We'll at least have the conversation. All right, now from the Denver Post. A little bit more Federal Reserve news here for you. 2 top Federal Reserve officials retire in the wake of trading disclosures. This is from Christopher S. Rubiger. In a rare moment of ethical controversy for the Federal Reserve, are you fucking kidding? The entire Federal Reserve is an ethical controversy. 2 top officials resigned Monday in the wake of revelations about their financial trading that exposed potential shortcomings in the Fed's rules on investments. Eric Rosengren, the president of the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston, said he would step down this week for health reasons. Meanwhile, Bobby Kaplan, the president of the Dallas Fed, said he would resign October 8th to avoid becoming a distraction for the Fed's broader mission. The 2 officials' financial disclosures sparked criticism from government watchdogs after they revealed extensive stock trading in 2020 when the Fed was spending trillions of dollars stabilizing financial markets and boosting the economy. Because of their trading, the 2 officials could potentially have profited from the Fed's actions. Though the investments by Rosengren and Kaplan were permitted under the Fed's rules, they raised at least the appearance of conflicts of interest, which federal policy discourages. Senator Elizabeth Warren, a Mass Democrat, sharply criticized the trades and called for a ban on stock ownership by Fed officials. Fed Chair Jerome Powell will testify Tuesday before the Senate Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee, which includes Warren, and will likely face questions about the Fed's ethics rules. The resignations will give Powell a specific response he can point to, observers said. Yeah, insider trading. It fucking blows, but certain people get to get away with it, apparently. And all they have to do is resign, whereas if you and I did some insider trading, if we got some tips and got rich and got to pay somebody off for information that will make us even richer, we'd be sitting in a fucking cell. And the Fed. From military.com, not Military Times, shifting gears here, talking about the vaccine. U.S. troops go to court seeking vaccine exemption for those who have had COVID-19. From Patricia Kaim. 2 U.S. service members who have recovered from COVID-19 are asking a federal judge to put an immediate stop to the Defense Department's mandatory COVID-19 vaccine order. Staff Sergeant Daniel Robert and Marine Corps Staff Sergeant Holly Mulvihill filed a suit on August 17th in the U.S. District Court for District of Colorado seeking an exemption to the order for military members who have recovered from an illness. But last week, the pair's attorneys stepped up the efforts, requesting a temporary injunction to stop all vaccinations and a judge's order that would require the DoD to exempt everyone with natural immunity from the mandate. Service members that have natural immunity developed from surviving the virus should be granted a medical exemption from the compulsory vaccination because the DoD instruction policy reflects the well-established understanding that prior infection provides the immune system's best possible response to the virus, the lawsuit says. The CDC recommends the COVID-19 vaccine for patients who have contracted COVID-19. A study published August 6th by the CDC found that the people in Kentucky who had COVID-19 and were unvaccinated were twice as likely to be reinfected than those with COVID-19 who were fully vaccinated. These data further indicate that COVID-19 vaccines offer better protection than natural immunity alone, and that vaccines, even after prior infection, help prevent reinfections, according to the study. But Todd Callender, a representative for the plaintiffs and attorney with disabled rights advocates, argues his clients and military personnel who have had COVID-19 are relatively young and healthy and therefore should be allowed to make decisions about vaccinations on their own. That is not the contract that you signed. And I don't like the fact that that's not the contract that you signed, but that's not the contract that you signed. In that contract, you are allowed to be used for medical experiments, and there is a litany of vaccinations that you have to take. Now, with that being said, for those who are just joining up now, you're going to sign that contract, and that contract is going to include the COVID vaccination, informed consent. You know that's going to be in the contract, so think about that before you sign it. For those prior, you actually may have a case because that particular vaccination was not on the contract. And I don't know how it works, but those who signed up before the pinko fucking pox showed up, may have an argument there because they did sign a contract alleging that they are to be, or they can be forced to take measles, anthrax vaccine, malaria, a litany of other things that they're going to encounter as they go onto their missions. But I don't know how that would work. I haven't passed the bar. I would have to look at the contract to see. They might have an argument there, but I don't know how that's going to go. Plus, like I said, the military does take pride in the fact that they like to medically experiment on their soldiers because they've got this big pile of warm bodies that, hey, no, you just sit down and have a lollipop and we'll stick this needle in your arm and don't question what it is. But we will see where it goes. In further news from Minnesota healthcare workers filed lawsuit over vaccine mandates. From Esme Murphy. Nearly 200 healthcare workers are suing their employers and the federal government over imminent vaccine mandates they claim violate their rights. The deadline is Friday for many. The federal mandates are in place at almost every healthcare facility in the country, including institutions in Minnesota such as the Mayo Clinic, Alena Health, Health Fairview, and Children's Hospitals and Clinics of Minnesota. Attorney Greg Erickson represents the 188 healthcare workers who are behind the lawsuit and fear being fired for not getting the vaccine. Erickson said he expects up to 1,000 more workers to join the suit. We have a catastrophic nursing shortage, he said. What do you think is going to happen if we terminate a significant portion of the nursing population in the state? The Minnesota Nurses Association said in a statement that they support a voluntary vaccination program that mandates will continue to exacerbate staffing shortages. Constitutional law professor David Schultz says the lawsuit has a chance to succeed and partially a strong case when it comes to religious exemptions. The current U.S. Supreme Court, which is 6-3 conservative leaning, that is 5-4, Roberts is a liberal justice at this point, has very much been supportive of the religious liberty arguments in the last couple of years regarding the pandemic, he said. Children's told WCCO-TV that 88% of their healthcare workers are fully vaccinated. For the Mayo Clinic, that figures 98% for doctors and 87% for staff. At Health Fairview, 80% of staff is vaccinated. Officials say they are confident that more of their employees will soon be vaccinated in order to avoid staffing shortages. Alena told WCCO-TV that 85% of its staff is vaccinated and that 10% received the shots after the mandate was announced. All the hospitals WCCO-TV contacted said that their deadlines for being fully vaccinated range from October 1st to November 1st. So, and we'll see where that goes and what happens with that. But if this thing really works, which I am not convinced that it does, if this thing really does work, then these people should be lining up for this because it's a good idea. Good ideas don't have to be mandated. But furthermore, this does come to a level of staffing. Something else was pointed out to me in the Discord call last night that I completely blanked on when we talked about the National Guard thing last week. I completely 100% blanked on this. And then as soon as it was pointed out to me, I realized that, oh shit, that's actually how this works. So you remember last week when we talked about the fact that Kathy Hochul is coming out here and she's going to go line up and get all of her healthcare workers after she fires all the ones that don't conform? She's going to get them from the National Guard. It didn't occur to me, it didn't dawn on me until last night that the National Guard are citizen soldiers. 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year. And they sit home and they have their regular careers. And if they're going out doing their 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year kind of thing, they're filling their time otherwise with a bunch of other stuff. These are citizen soldiers. And if they've got the medical training, they're most likely statistically in the medical field, which means that Kathy Hochul is taking people out of the hospitals in New York to staff other hospitals in New York, Or in other ways, looking at this, because most of these people aren't probably working in hospitals, they're probably working in small private practices. So she's taking away from the small private family practices and putting them in the hospitals by activating the National Guard to do this. That didn't dawn on me a couple days ago when we talked about this. And then after my friend Seawall said something about it, I realized that yes, these are people who are barely out in the military. So this is going to cause bigger problems. But there is one more lawsuit going through Minnesota, ironically. From CARE 11. Student files lawsuit against U of M system over vaccine requirement. The 20-year-old University of Minnesota Duluth student says he tested positive for COVID in November, can provide evidence of immunity, and has the right to refuse a vaccination. From Dana Theed. A student at the University of Minnesota Duluth has filed a lawsuit challenging a vaccination mandate put in place before the 2021-2022 school year. The lawsuit names U of M President Joan Gable, the U of M Board of Regents, and the U of M system of 5 campuses as defendants, and seeks to overturn the mandate that all students be vaccinated by October 8th. Court documents show the plaintiff is an unnamed 20-year-old undergrad from the Duluth campus, listed as John Doe, who was diagnosed with COVID-19 in November of 2020. The lawsuit maintains that the student can provide evidence of immunity against COVID due to contracting the virus. He has no medical condition that might create serious health risks if he were to become ill with COVID again. Accepting the COVID-19 vaccine violates the petitioner's conscientiously held but not specifically religious beliefs. If injunctive relief is not granted by the court or on or before October 8, 2021, petitioner will be forced to relinquish his fundamental rights and conscientious beliefs or harm his long-term job and education prospects and change colleges. CARE 11 contacted the University of Minnesota and received the following statement on the lawsuit. The university is currently reviewing the petition. We are confident that operational decisions we made regarding vaccinations in our community. Our actions reflect the high priority we place on creating the safest, healthiest possible campus environment for our students, faculty, and staff. So, more people.
If it weren't for pictures.
Oh,
I don't remember what I felt.
Go away. Shut up. This one's going to start playing too soon. In fact, let's actually play that so it just keeps going off in the background. I mean, looking at this, there's a lot to go over with this, as usual. There's a lot to see here, but so many people are pushing back against this. Whereas, once again, if it was a good idea, then people would be lining up for it. Parents line up to go get the shots for their kids. In a hurry. They line up to go get the polio. I don't even know what all they get anymore. They get a bunch of them, though. And the parents line up for them. They go back and do, okay, well, we need to get our baby the shots. We need to get the shots for our kid. So let's go ahead and do that. I want to make sure that my kid is taken care of in the best possible way. By all these shots that we've had time and time again, over and over again, they line up for this stuff. They post on social media. You see the baby on Facebook all the time. Look at this happy little baby who just got his shots. He was such a brave little boy. He only cried a little bit. Good ideas don't need to be forced. People beg for them. But again, if you want it and you have no way to get it, you call your buddy J. Edgar, and your buddy J. Edgar will come out here and make sure that you can go out there and get it. But most of my audience doesn't want it, so that's where we sit. Or already has it, one of the two. The CDC puts out a statement here. CDC issues urgent health advisory, strongly recommends COVID-19 vaccination for those pregnant, recently pregnant, or trying to become pregnant, who might become pregnant in the future to prevent serious illness, deaths, and adverse pregnancy outcomes. Shh. Nobody tell Harvey McLeod. Oh god, Brett Kavanaugh's fucking trending again. Oh, what did they do this time? With as much stupid shit as they put on this guy, I'm actually curious. Kavanaugh has the pinko fucking pox. Fully vaccinated Kavanaugh has the pinko fucking pox. Terrific. Now we have to have that conversation all weekend. From the Blaze, Whoopi Goldberg snaps on LeBron James. Promote the vaccine or shut up about everything else you preach. From Sarah Taylor. Whoopi Goldberg took a swipe at NBA superstar LeBron James during Thursday's broadcast to The View, demanding that he speak up in support of the COVID-19 vaccines or stop pushing his own agenda in the future. You remember all the way back to 2 years ago when saying shut up and dribble was a crime that could end the fucking world? James, who is vaccinated, has said that he believes getting vaccinated is a person's individual choice and should not be influenced by anything else. In a recent interview, James said, "Everyone has their own voices. Do what they feel is right for themselves and their family and things of that nature. I know that I was very skeptical about it all, but after doing my research and things of that nature, I felt like it was best suited not only for me, but for my family and my friends. But as far as speaking for everybody and their individuality and the things they want to do, I don't feel that is my job." And what did Whoopi have to say? Let's listen.
Now, here's some stuff that we have to tell you about, because vaccination rates are way down. And since 90% of the NBA players have taken the shot, basketball legend Kareem Abdul-Jabbar says the rest of them have to get on board and tell their fans to get on board, too. But one of the biggest superstars in the game, LeBron James, who is vaccinated, doesn't think it's up to him. Take a look.
Everyone has their own choice to do what they feel is right for themselves and their family and things of that nature. I know that I was very skeptical about it all, but after doing my research and things of that nature, I felt like it was best suited for not only me, but for my family and for my friends. But as far as speaking for everybody and their individualities and things that they want to do, I don't feel like that's not my job.
Well, it's kind of funny because if it's not your job, that means that some of those folks that would be coming to see you play are not going to come see you play because they can't get in. See? So it is kind of it's not your job to tell people what to do, but you can suggest that you figured out that nobody grew a second head or a tail when they got the shot. I mean, I don't know why that would be hard for folks.
I know. Well, back in March, he said, that's a conversation that my family and I will have. Pretty much keep that to a private thing. Look, when you have a public platform, when you are a public person, really, it's a privilege, but it's also a responsibility.
Yeah.
And privacy doesn't come along with all of the privilege that comes with being a public person. You're earning a ton of money. You've got fans. People follow you. People love you. It's the conversation we had about Nicki Minaj.
Yeah.
When you have a public platform, it's because people love you.
Yeah.
And people support you. And people pay to see you. And people tune in to see you. You have a responsibility to those.
Alright, I can't listen to these people anymore, but I do love the irony of the fact that, yes, these people are allowed to say shut up and dribble, but Tomi Lahren is not. And interesting as well that Anna Navarro was back on The View so quickly. I guess that we just didn't want her to be there for the Kamala interview. Here's a person who deserves no fucking sympathy whatsoever. From Fox News. Biden's former ATF nominee, Chipman, accuses White House of abandoning him during confirmation. From Caitlin McFall. President Biden's former nominee to lead the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives said he felt like an island during his confirmation process. In a Wednesday interview, David Chipman said that he thought it was unusual that he never spoke to anyone at the White House following his nomination. In the back of my mind, I always thought there would be a plan B, but so far there hasn't been, Chipman told the New York Times, a former newspaper. Chipman faced fierce backlash from pro-gun rights groups, and almost immediately following his nomination earlier this year. The 25-year ATF veteran has made a name for himself as a strong advocate for increased regulations. That's not why he made a name for himself. That's not why he made a name for himself. I'm sorry to tell you this. So sad, so sad. Oh, the White House didn't support me after they nominated me. Just like I didn't support all those kids that died at fucking Ruby Ridge. Fuck off, Chipman. Bye-bye. We got one here from our friends over at NPR for you guys. NPR, National Progressive Radio. Mail delivery is about to get slower and pricier, just in time for the holidays. This is from Jonathan Franklin. And remember, go check out NPR and make sure that you hit their donate button, because they need our money, comrade, to spread their communist ideals around the world. And they will remind you if you get halfway through the article. They need that money that bad. It is our money, and they need to be able to pick up these weird, soft microphones to give you that calming feeling while you're driving, so you drive your vehicle off the road. And then mysteriously whale all your money away to NPR. National Progressive Radio. It's not your money, comrade. It's our money. Let's see what they have to say. You better get those holiday packages sent out sooner rather than later. Mail delivery is about to get slower and more expensive. Beginning Friday, the U.S. Postal Service will start to implement new service standards for first-class mail and periodicals, slowing its target delivery time by about 30%. USPS spokesperson Kim Frum told NPR, National Progressive Radio. According to Frum, some of the changes will result in increased time for some pieces of mail going cross-country and other long distances. However, she tells NPR, 61% of the first-class mail and 93% of periodicals will not be affected by these changes. So you'll still get your junk and your spam mail and your catalogs and everything else, but your Christmas package might be delayed. Single-piece first-class mail, small or lightweight mail traveling in the same region will still have a 2-day delivery time from said first-class packages, however, will be impacted by the new standards starting on Friday. Additionally, beginning October 3rd and ending on December 26th, the U.S. Postal Service will temporarily increase prices on all commercial and retail domestic packages because of the holiday season, Frum said. The price increases will not affect international products. The changes are part of the Postal Service's 10-year strategic plan announced by DeJoy during this past March. There it is. Donate again. Fund public radio's future. National Progressive Radio. The need for the U.S. Postal Service to transform to meet the needs of our customers is long overdue, DeJoy said in announcing the plan. Frum told NPR that the Postal Service will use more ground transportation, calling it more reliable and cost-effective than air transportation. With this change, we will improve service reliability and predictability for customers while also driving efficiencies across the Postal Service network, she said. In August, the Postal Service announced its standards for first-class mail delivery was met 83.6% of the time throughout the quarter ending in June 30th in comparison to its 88.9% performance during the same period in 2020. The Postal Service also reported a loss of $3 billion for the quarter ending June 30th, compared with $2.2 billion the previous year. Yeah, see, they should be solvent before they start making some of these decisions. And yes, to my understanding, the Postal Service is protected in the Constitution. I understand that, but you still need to find a way to be somewhat solvent off of this. Because your competitors are doing so, and they're solvent. They don't get the government backing to come back out and help them out. The abortion argument is here. So we're going to listen to this video from Town Hall first, and then we'll read the article that's associated with it from The Blaze. Abortion provider. Abortion is a blessing. Abortion is an act of love. Abortion is freedom. Don't take my word for it. Let's listen to it from her herself.
SB 8 has not only caused a near total abortion ban in Texas, it has made it extremely dangerous to be pregnant in Texas, where our maternal morbidity and mortality rate is already unconscionably high, especially for Black women and pregnant people of color. Texas deserves better. I know firsthand that abortion saves lives. For the thousands of people I've cared for, abortion is a blessing. Abortion is an act of love. Abortion is freedom. We need federal protection now. We need laws that elevate science and evidence and recognize the dignity and autonomy of people accessing care. The Women's Health SB 8 has not only caused a...
It's an act of love. It's freedom. It's demonic. Let's read from the Blaze. Self-described proud abortion provider claims that abortion is a blessing, abortion is an act of love, abortion is freedom. From Alex Nitzberg. One of the witnesses at a House Committee on Oversight and Reform hearing on Thursday called abortion a blessing, an act of love and freedom. During her introductory remarks, Dr. Gazella Mayedi announced that she utilizes her she/her pronouns. I'll tell you the truth. Noted that she is a board-certified OB-GYN and that she is a proud abortion provider. A Texas law that went into effect in September prohibits conducting abortions once a fetal heartbeat has been detected, except in the case of medical emergencies. The law allows people to be dodge a civil action against violators, stipulates if complainant prevails, court should reward statutory damages, $10,000 per violation. We know that information. Mayedi spoke about the law during her remarks. The impact of this law is devastating. It's terrifying, not only for people with undesired pregnancies, don't fuck if you undesire a pregnancy. Don't stick that there without that on it. This is not rocket science. But for anyone with a highly desired pregnancy who has pregnancy complications, the consequences are far-reaching. Healthcare providers are confused. My colleagues are asking if they're still allowed to treat an ectopic pregnancy or a miscarriage. They're worried that they will have to delay life-saving care for people who are very sick. They're worried about all the possible chronic conditions that can worsen in pregnancy, but not worsen enough to warrant an exception under this law. Which, that's all fine and good. That's the conversation we can have, because that is imminent life of the mother. That's all a conversation we have, but that's not what the majority of these abortions are. That's the problem. If these were the majority of abortions, we probably wouldn't even be having this argument. But that's not what they are. Many people on Twitter push back against Mayedi's remarks. I doubt the baby feels blessed. Abortion saves lives. No, 2 minus 1 equals 1. Another tweet noted. Nonsense, calling evil good and calling saving life bad, another tweet stated. And this is what the devil does. He claims that evil is love, claims that he is God, and you can be too. Satan is the great deceiver. Conservative commentator Liz Wheeler tweeted. So, yeah. According to this lady, abortion is love. Which I think is kind of deceptive. By the way, if you're just lurking right now, get those last minute messages in, because live chat time is coming up in just about 7 minutes. So you got a few more minutes to get in there, get your name read out loud, and get your comment possibly read out loud. Unless it might get us thrown off YouTube, and then it won't happen. But also the time that we take to thank all these wonderful people who chatted in the live chat throughout the week here. Detroit Councilman, don't fall on the ground. Detroit Councilman Spivey resigns after pleading guilty to bribery. This is from the Detroit Metro Times. From Steve Nevling, Detroit City Councilman Andre Spivey resigned on Wednesday morning, one day after he pleaded guilty to bribery in federal court. In a letter to City Council President Brenda Joan, Spivey didn't mention the bribery case, but said it's been a pleasure to serve the city as a third-term councilman. Beginning in 2019, I was able to serve a citywide capacity, and in 2013 and 2017 elected to serve District 4, Spivey said in the letter. The most rewarding and challenging was working to move our city past bankruptcy into financial solvency. Spivey pleaded guilty on Tuesday to conspiring with an unidentified staff member to commit bribery. Spivey and the staff member collected more than $35,000 in cash bribes from an undercover agent or confidential informant on 8 different occasions between 2018 and 2020. That's kind of entrapment, but according to the U.S. Attorney's Office, Spivey was the first person to be charged as part of the federal government's ongoing Operation Northern Hook, an investigation into corruption within Detroit government and the police department related to towing contracts. The people of Detroit deserve a city government free of corruption and pay-to-play politics, U.S. Attorney Saima S. Manchin said in a statement on Tuesday. The conviction of Councilman Spivey for accepting $35,000 in bribes demonstrates that the federal government remains vigilant and determined in rooting out corruption within the city of Detroit. I have a question. I have a question. Pick me, please. Please pick me. MK Ultra, reach out to me on the Discord and I will tell you all about that, by the way. Because there's way too much to go on over in that segment. And that is me knowing Illinois as well as I do. But I'll also see approximately what region you're trying to get to. And tell you a little bit more about the region I live in, which I won't say on air. Even though I pretty much have. Most times. Looking in at this though. When I look at this should, first and foremost, this should be coming out of Lansing. This shouldn't be coming out of Washington, D.C. That is the first and foremost problem for this, is why the federal government is looking into this. Why, is it Lansing, Michigan? Why am I blanking on state capitals again? I used to know every one of these. I think it's Lansing, though. Yes, it is Lansing. So this investigation should be coming out of Lansing. It should not be coming out of Washington, D.C. That's the first problem. But this also seems like entrapment on top of everything else. Why does the federal government have to get involved in these local affairs? I mean, yes, get it out and expose, but then indeed make sure that this doesn't happen again. Make sure that these people have informed consent over who they're voting for. That is the biggest part of this. And I do have to wonder how many more people are going to get picked up by this. Is he going to pay a fine? Is he going to go up the river? Is he going to... I know it looks like he said he's going to resign, but... I mean, that's a bunch of money that you took to go try to enrich your rich inner city buddies. That's a bunch of money. And we saw the FBI actually taking the documents out in a line, 75 people deep, all of them carrying another tote of documents that they're carrying out to the cars. So they're on a lead for something, and hey, there might not be a Detroit yet after this, which might not be the worst thing in the world. All right, let's grab this one here quick. Just a little bit of financial news for you guys who are in the market for a new car. Chip shortage expected to cost auto industry $210 billion in revenue in 2021. From Michael Wayland. With no end in sight, the semiconductor chip shortage is now expected to cost the global automotive industry $210 billion in revenue in 2021, according to consulting firm Alex Partners. The forecast is almost double its previous projection of $110 billion in May. The New York-based firm released an initial forecast of $60.6 billion in late January, when the parts problem started causing automakers to cut production at plants. Of course, everyone had to hope the chip crisis would have abated more by now, but unfortunate events such as the pinko fucking pox lockdowns in Malaysia and continued problems elsewhere have exacerbated things. said Mark Wayfield, a global co-leader of the automotive and industrial practice at AlixPartners, in a statement. AlixPartners is now forecasting that 7.7 million units of production will be lost in 2021, up from 3.9 million in its May forecast. The biggest hit to production occurred in the second quarter, according to Dan Hirsch, a managing director in the automotive and industrial practice at AlixPartners. The second quarter of this year is still the worst chip shortage so far in terms of lost vehicles, he said in an email to CNBC. But what's changed is the auto industry globally simply hasn't recovered as quickly as we thought when we did our forecast back in May, due to unforeseen things since then, like the rise of the Delta variant and the COVID breakouts in Malaysia and other Southeast Asian countries. Automakers across the globe, including Ford Motor and General Motors, had warned of massive earnings cuts this year due to chip shortage, but some, if not much, of those losses have been offset by resilient consumer demand and higher profits from record vehicle prices. Yeah, that's a big deal too, and I mean you're seeing some of this too coming back around, and it's not only affecting the new car market, but that's what's driving off of this. It used to be you walked into let's just use Boucher down in Janesville as an example. When my ex-girlfriend and I bought her new car in 2016, was it? I think so. 2015, I think it was actually. When we bought her new car in 2015, it was a matter... No, it was 2016, because it was late in 2016. No, it was early in 2016, and then we moved in together late in 2016. But either way, no, it was 2015, because it was a 2016 model year car. We are way off in the woods here at this point. In 2015, when we went over and bought the ex's new car, line after line, rows after row of brand new cars, and then just this little tiny segment over across the way with a few used cars, a few used trucks. I've test driven a couple of them over there before I ultimately found the one that wasn't on the lot in 2011. But when we went over there and bought her brand new Fusion, yeah, it was just line after line, rows after rows. They were tucked in so tight that they actually had to get people to move cars around to get the car that she wanted out so we could go take it for a test drive. And now I go through, because the Olive Garden's next to there too, but I go over there every once in a while. I look at that, and the new car lot is empty. There's nothing there. There's like 4 F-250s, an F-350 or 2, a couple of F-150s, maybe a few Fusion, but it's empty. You could drive around in there with no problem whatsoever. So, and that's trickling down to the used car market too, because now they're begging people for their used cars so they have inventory. Oh, we'll pay you $2,000 over book price for this because we need inventory. We need something to sell to people who want to come in and buy a car. Even the used car lot over at Boucher is fairly empty. The Hyundai lot is empty. Everything is empty because people aren't trading in their vehicles and they're not getting new vehicles because there are no new vehicles to buy. So, yeah, this is having a major effect on everything, all the way down too. This is trickle down. And that's going to be part of the reason that your prices are going to go up. Now, once the chip shortage goes past, once all this bullshit gets out of here, I can see that prices actually drop fairly significantly because they're going to try and incentivize people to go out and buy more new vehicles to drive the cost down so people can, to catch up on some of the revenue that they're losing this year. Because $210 billion is a lot of revenue across all the automakers too. That is massive. All right. F's in the chat, although I read earlier in the chat that it looks like it's probably back at this point. But tweets out from Ron Paul, very shocked that YouTube has completely removed my channel, or the channel of my Ron Paul Institute. No warning, no strikes, no evidence. Only explanation was severe or repeated violations of our community guidelines. Channel is rarely used. The appeal was automatically rejected. Help. Now, yeah, I saw that, I think Quest pointed out that it was restored at this point. at the point that we're reading this right now, but still, that's the fact that they went out over a presidential candidate and just removed him. No strikes, no warnings, no nothing. And they could do it to this, too. I've said some things that the right progressive, on this show, that the right progressive could turn around and say, well, he's anti-vax, take him down, take him down. Your stuff can leave at a moment's notice, which is why I'm thankful for Restream, that we can go back and multi-stream out to everything else. And yes, follow the links if you're on the YouTube in the description and go find another platform just in case we disappear for whatever reason. It's always good to have a backup, and DLive is never going to fuck with us. Twitch might actually still fuck with me, especially because they're paying me money. They might fuck with me, but yeah, nobody else is going to. So go and watch for that, and go check out the Ron Paul Institute. A couple more here. I think we can fly through the rest of these here. Gunmaker Smith & Wesson moving headquarters from Mass to Tennessee. From Olaf Mihan Oshin. Gunmaker Smith & Wesson announced Thursday it will relocate its main headquarters from Springfield, Massachusetts to Maryville, Tennessee. In a statement on Thursday, Smith & Wesson shared it is leaving its Springfield-based headquarters due to a state-proposed law that could prohibit the company from manufacturing certain firearms if enacted. The proposed Mass law would ban manufacture of any assault weapons in the Bay State unless it is made to sell to law enforcement or the military, according to Boston.com. This has been an extremely difficult and emotional decision for us, but after an exhaustive and thorough analysis for the continued health and strength of our iconic company, we feel we've been left with no other alternative, CEO Mark Smith said in a statement. Smith & Wesson indicated they chose to invest $120 million to build a facility in Maryville due to Tennessee's stance on the Second Amendment, business-friendly environment, access to higher education institutions, and favorable location for efficiency of distribution. The strong support we have received from the state of Tennessee and the entire leadership of Blount County throughout this process, combined with the greater Knoxville area, has left no doubt that Tennessee is the ideal location for Smith & Wesson's new headquarters, Smith said. We would like to specifically thank Governor Bill Lee for his decisive contributions, and the entire state legislature for their unwavering support of the Second Amendment and for creating a welcoming, business-friendly environment. Which I think is cool. I mean, I think that Smith & Wesson should have gotten the fuck out of Massachusetts a long time ago because, well, it's Massachusetts. There are a few people that I'm trying to urge to get out of there as well because it's Massachusetts. One of my best friends, I think she should come down and move into Wisconsin. Kristen, if you're listening, get the fuck out of there. It's only going to get worse. And the thing with Smith & Wesson, too, I mean, it's not just the fact that the state law only allowed them to sell firearms to law enforcement and not government agencies at this point. On top of everything else with Smith & Wesson is the fact that they can stay in Massachusetts forever and still have to worry about the next time the Second Amendment protesters come back out and hold signs and picket outside and burn shit and do other shit outside their factory in Springfield, Massachusetts. It's a little bit further west than most mass people will go out in Springfield, but they still have to worry about going out and getting protested outside of their headquarters in Massachusetts. Whereas if they go to Tennessee, it's still likely, but it's less likely. So, good on them. Absolutely good on them. And they do make a fine armament as well, I must say. Now owning one for the first time. Alright. Let's head out of here for the day, I think. But before we do that, we need to say a special thank you to those of you who chatted in the live chat. So let's get this scrolled up to the top to see where you guys are starting from. Good morning, Jay. Can you spare Light, Edgar, and fellow Ed Heads? But before we get into the live chat for the day, let's do the live chat for the week prior. So, special thank you, special shoutouts for on Monday we had Quest Fanning, Ron Helton, Arvolt, Random Randy, or Randy Crush Saga as he's now known, Aimless Gamer, Katie Z, Ben Wild, Spartan 0000, Superior 1, Harvey McLeod, and Nephilim Ninja of Nibiru. On Tuesday, we had Random Randy, Arvolt 24, Quest Fanning, 80s Kid was here, Chilaga 1984, Lazy, who didn't come back after his unfortunate muting. If you're going to call people's names, you're going to get a mute. If my mods won't do it, I will do it. Because we don't need that shit around here. Because that starts leading into hatred and starts leading into doxing. We don't need that shit. And it's surprisingly hard to get permanently banned from this channel. Glazy can come back anytime he wants. If he starts calling names, he will get silenced again. But, yeah. That's how that goes. Woofy Production was here. Regirth was here. Atreus. On Wednesday, we had Random Randy, Arvolt 24, Katie Z, Ron Helton, Quest Fanning in numerous of his iterations, Chilaga 1984, 80s Kid, Sully Blue, Harvey McLeod rounded out our Wednesday. Yesterday, in the unfortunate bit where I went for 5 minutes without my microphone on, mea culpa, mea maxima culpa, was also the busiest day for live chat ever. A lot of names that I'm familiar with, but that is the most names on Thursday that we've ever had in a single live chat day. And I can go back and review the notes for the rest of the days too. That is the most. So thank you guys for that. Most active chat we've ever had. On Thursday, we had Ron Helton, Woofy Productions, Arvolt, Nephilim Ninja, Random Randy, Chilaga 1984, Marie Begolet, I don't know how to pronounce it, I'm sorry, Quest Fanning, Luke Wee came in for the beginning. I don't know if he got the second YouTube link because, yes, we had enough of a glitch in the internet that we got kicked completely off and had to run the stream on two separates. Ben Wild was here, 80s Kid, and MK Ultra 30330. Let's see what you guys are doing today. Ron Helton, good morning, fellow Jay, can you spare a light? Edgar and fellow Ed Heads. My kitchen is complete now. We do have the hood back in place. I need to get an LED light for the hood because I don't want to use the energy hogging incandescent in there, but we put it in there to test it and run it for a little while anyway. But yes, everything is back to complete, which makes me very happy. Ben Wild is here. Randy Crush Saga is here. Arvolt is lurking. Oops, he said don't lurk. Well, you gotta do what you gotta do, because you gotta do your work, but at least make sure you get a message in here so I can say thank you. That is me with the GoFundMe. Thank you guys very much, and hope you guys do like what we're doing over there and can support, throw a couple bucks that way. That would be very cool of you if you could. Arvolt says, watching on YouTube while shitposting. Welcome. Chilaga 1984, good morning, Ed Heads. Happy Friday. Randy Crush Saga says, sexy nurse costume. No, it's not a sexy nurse costume. I think you guys in the YouTube realm are going to like it a lot, though. I do. I think it's going to go over quite well. Let's see, what else do we have going on here? The Pretzel Rocks. Lots of Pretzel Rocks. I bet he's got a Stephen Ignoramus costume. No, it's not Stephen Ignoramus either. Although that would be an interesting one. No, but I can't go without the glasses. That's the problem, and I can't wear contacts. I have a workaround for the costume that I'm doing, and you'll see at the end of the month. Marie May Begolet is here. I don't know how to pronounce that, but welcome. Welcome, welcome. Ron Helton says, yet let the demon rats take the blame for driving the final stake into the heart of the economy. The demon rats have the majority. They can pass whatever they want to pass. It's pure propaganda otherwise. No, the evil Mitch McConnell is filibustering. He's preventing that, and we can't use the budget reconciliation on the debt because then we can't use it on the infrastructure bill. Build back better for someone else. Aw, so sweet. I mean, no, I'm not going to go there. Maybe? I can't. I want to puss out on that one and not go against YouTube's terms of service on that. No, I'm not. Fuck it. I gotta find it again. Who are we building back better for? Are we building back better maybe for this direction here? Iron Dome funding. I'm going to cry while I'm on the floor. I'm getting kicked off YouTube at some point. And I don't care. Ron Helton says, is it some more? We have to pass it to know what's in it. These people are out of control. Corrupt clown Congress. Murray Maybegole says, Nancy's starting to look like MJ. Michael Jackson. Yeah, I could see that. Quest Fanning is here. Good morning. Benoit, you know when you don't get enough dietary fiber? What are you talking about? No, you remember the Bobby Hill thing he did too, where he'd pull his shorts up over his gigantic fucking belly roll and do the old man? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? It's ISPs on the Spectrum. It is. It is Spectrum too. AOCIA. AOC biscuit. I remember we were talking, we were introducing articles the first time the Already Conservative was on, it was still Ed's World at the time, but the first, no, I think it was was it the second time? No, it was the first time. The first time the Already Conservative was on Ed's World. I was introducing articles, and that happened to be the week that AOC Biscuit was celebrating the fact that she brought in that tiny amount of Amazon jobs into a district that wasn't hers and chased out all the other ones that were in her district, and they were getting just this little tiny office park instead of the headquarters. And I said that, and the Already Conservative said that name that I've never forgotten. AOC Biscuit! That fucking nematode! I love the Already Conservative. I need him to move so he can come back on his streaming. And I will do whatever I can to help him get moved. Part of that is going to be, I hope, getting this website up. So in case he does have to stick around for a while because they can't get the mortgage, we can possibly get them a massive down payment. That's part of what we're going to try to do. After this fundraiser, after we complete the 2001, I'm going to start another one, and I'm going to start a down payment fundraiser for him. Because we got to get him out of Mass. Anytime someone's picked out of nowhere, their intel. Randy Crush says the tax cut almost paid for itself in the first year. And there we have the conundrum of the lure of the outsider. I guess I don't remember what you meant by that. Marie says America is spending like a woman. Luby. Eric Bowman says, I already pay my bills the day my direct deposit paycheck shows up in my 2 checking accounts. After that, and retirement withholding, there's not much left. That's a good chunk more than $600 in each of these, but only briefly. Marie says, I wonder what additional right they will have to take away to get that going again. The stimulus payments were the biggest data grab to date. Yes. Ron Helton doesn't like Lincoln. We know that. Yeah, they always fearmonger. The elderly, every time they want to do their thieving, nothing new. Imagine depending on daddy government to feed your kids. Well, I don't, because I don't have kids. Apparently Katie Zed knows someone who has the commie fucking coof up in the chat. Maria says, some days they line you up in the hallway and tell you to drop your pants on one side and give you a shot. I kind of want her to breathe on me so I can get that natural immunity, says Katie Zed. Arvold says, to be sure, you need to make out with her and video it for your medical records. MK Ultra is here. Welcome, MK Ultra. It's number 2, our Volt. I'd have to drive to Indiana to get it. Although she was just at my house a couple weeks ago. Maybe she got it here. Not number 2. Like kid number 2? I don't know if Katie Z has kids or not. So that might be it. Sherlock says Whoopi's a literal witch, right? Now what was she? What was her species? What was Guinan? Guinan sees. She's not a witch. What is she? She is an El-Arian. That's what she is. Which is why Q was afraid of her. Good point on the shut up and dribble. They made such a big deal out of that time. Look at Whoopi now. Yep. Fuck Kareem. Katie Zed says, so I noticed that Jenny McCarthy Wahlberg, Mrs. Anti-Vax herself, is on the new season of The Masked Singer, not social distancing, not wearing a mask. Isn't the point of The Masked Singer that you are wearing a mask? Do you think she got the jab? I don't know. Oh, Jenny McCarthy lives in the west suburbs? I didn't know that. I couldn't tell you 10 things that Jenny McCarthy's been in. I could probably go down the Hollywood mail list and say 10 things that have been in Jenny McCarthy, but that's another story for another time. How is it that COVID doesn't affect her? Some sort of correlation with the number of zeros in her bank statement? All the women who speak out about wanting to kill babies are completely unfuckable. Being in the dating pool near Madison, I actually have to call that fact check false. Now, whether or not I would have a second date with them is another story, but they are not unfuckable. I can tell you that. Yeah, why are you playing an anthem from those morons? They don't have a damn thing of substance to add to any conversation. My ears are bleeding now from listening to these idiots. MK Ultra says, I gotta get the F out of Illinois within the year. Thoughts on moving to Wisconsin? I like it here. And I know Illinois, and I would want to get the fuck out of there as soon as I possibly could, too. No desire to live there. I like going to, like, Rock Cut or something to go hike, because I like the trails over there. I would have gone this past Sunday, except for I had the plumbing issue that I had to try and fix on Sunday instead. But, I mean, I like going down there. I like going to Illinois for stuff, like to go shopping or stuff like that, but God bless you people who live there, because I don't understand how the fuck you can do it. Between all the taxes and the fact that your entire state is run by the mafia government out of Chicago, and it's not even in the capital of your state. I don't understand how you can do it. I wouldn't be able to do it. I don't like working down there. I like going down there to buy stuff and go hiking. I don't like working down there. And I've done that before too. Because knowing state capitals is a waste of space in your head. Useless information. I used to know it. Like right off the top of my head. Katie Z says, I only know them because of Animaniacs. Yup. I didn't do that one. I did the Nations of the World song for a talent show when I was in middle school. United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Brazil, and Peru. Quest is another one, which God bless you for living there. I don't know how the fuck you can live there. Especially in the city, too. Quest, that's not a bad idea, Katie, but you guys will be facing a lot of authoritarian push soon enough. If I move, it's most likely going to be to a different country. Chaos Soul is here. I've seen your name in here a couple times before. Welcome, regardless. Eric Bowman says on Twitter, I just shared a CNBC article about the older average age of American cars. I guess on my part, it's an intentional shortage across the board with most goods. If all good people get to the southeast, we won't face a takeover, maybe a secession, but not a takeover. Chaos Soul says, my Jack Russell's name is Ron Paw. I like that. That's wholesome. That is wholesome stuff in this chat. We don't get enough of that. Apparently, Chaos Soul is in the southeast. There are 2 channels. Ron Helton says Paul's main channel is still active, but probably not for long. The Liberty Report is still on the main channel. I think they have 1 or 2 strikes now on the RPL channel. The censorship monkeys are in rage mode. Yeah, Steven just got fucking dinged, by the way. So go check out Ignoramus Media. Don't go check out the regular Steven Ignoramus channel. He got popped yesterday for probably airing way too much of a Tucker interview, which I didn't see because that was about the time I had to leave for work, which is like now, by the way. Arvolt says, work has made me miss a bunch of the show, but I'll probably catch the replay later. Imagine working instead of watching Contemporary. Is it not Marie? Maybe Golet? Is that it? I don't know. Sheila, that would be pretty epic. Well, in the kitchen may be back in order, but the new nicknames will continue. Would not have got to this point without Obamacare shoved down our throats for a reason. Yeah, you have to pass it to see what's in it. That's actually correct. I need a pro bono lawyer. I filed a pro se in state fed court. Any leads? I would have to know what state you were in to make a recommendation for that, because your state litigation is going to change depending on where you are and who can practice in that state. Number 2 is the username. Okay. Civil rights case. 10 things in Jenny McCarthy. Is that instrumental? It might have been. I don't see anything that says hurt on the name, so maybe not. I live by a park. I have great neighbors and friends. I also love my house and gardens. Work while watching Contemporary is where it's at. Yeah. Georgia. Okay. There are a couple people in the chat here that are in Georgia. They can probably make a better recommendation on who is there and who can practice law in that area. So reach out to them. Katie Zed, I know you're down in Georgia because you keep trying to get me to move there. Maybe see if you can help Chaos Soul. Chaos Soul, if you want to join the Discord, there should be a link in the live chat for that. Go and join that because everybody is in here as well. Otherwise, I can go grab you the link too here quick. Put that in the chat for you. Or follow my Twitter. That's at EdsBlogTwitter with a 1 in place of the I. That's another place where you can usually reach me and people who are related to me as far as this system goes. Get that in the chat for you. Steven suggested Tucker would probably be cool with it. Oh well. Yeah, that's one of the things with it though. When you start to do an extended clip like that, then they start to take more notice because they get more instances of it. Especially if you're stopping and cutting it up every once in a while, because they'll get an alert and then another alert and then another alert and then another alert and then another alert and another alert and another alert. So it probably stacked up and they probably did something about it. Whereas if you just use the one clip and they get the one alert for it, then they're not going to do a whole lot with it. Because didn't he do that for like the back 2/3 of his show, I thought? I don't know. We got to get out of here though, because I have to get to work. I have to leave here in like 2 minutes. I'm still wearing athletic shorts. So let's get that track changed up and let's go. All right, so thank you everybody who came by and chatted with us in the live chat. It's been a great day, and we got a lot of stuff done. We got a lot of stuff covered and a lot of stuff going on. And I still don't know how to pronounce Marie's name, her screen name, but we'll figure that out somewhere in the near future, somewhere off of this. We will be back here. I owe you guys either a gaming stream or a chat stream, so I'm going to make good on that this weekend. Saturday at 5:30. I don't know what it's going to be yet. So stay tuned for that. But I do owe you guys a stream. As I said I was going to do one last weekend, and I didn't do one last weekend. We will see where that goes, so look forward to that. Otherwise, we'll be back here on Monday with more of Contemporary. More talking about what happens over the weekend and all the fun shit that goes on there. Otherwise, we'll be back here Monday night for the Red Net Show featuring Britt of the Freckles and Brit Show, and hopefully, fingers crossed, the graphic designer for Turns and Pages Productions. And do make sure you go and check out Turns and Pages Productions and the GoFundMe that goes with it, so we can raise some money and actually get some of this news up out of here. That's going to be great. And if you guys do want to throw some money into that, that will be greatly appreciated. You will get credit in the GoFundMe as well. Let me get that. Do I have the GoFundMe up here? I should bookmark that. I really should. Get that in here one last time. If you want to throw a little bit onto that for us to help us out, that would be great. And if you choose not to be anonymous, if you choose to have your name out there, you'll get special mention on the website as well. So thank you guys for all that. Otherwise, we are going to head out of here for the weekend. Thank you everybody who chatted throughout the week and in the weekend, who hung out with us, kept the numbers up, watched the ads on Twitch, and everything else. And we'll be back here next time. Until then, I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.